Hello, this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. Ron DeSantis is finally about to announce, apparently he's going to do it on Twitter, which is getting a lot of interesting feedback from like legacy media and other different people, and it's so evident. I don't care how much you love Trump. It's pretty evident how much the Never Trumpers and the mainstream media do not want him to be the nominee, because you can disagree with this all you want, but they believe that Trump is the easier person to beat according to their reactions and things that they've literally said, like, you know, Joy and other people from like The View and other journalists, and people have let it slip that they think he's the easiest target. So they want him to be the nominee, so it'll be a rematch instead of a referendum on Biden, and people will have to answer the question, did I make a mistake? And it's so hard for people to do that. There are people who can reflect and say, yeah, I screwed up, but but a lot of people can't do that. So Ron DeSantis is going to announce apparently tonight, and it's making for some very interesting commentary. Also, there's this pretty wild video of this professor who assaulted some pro-life activists. And so she got fired because when reporters came knocking at her door, she met them with a machete. So interesting things going on in the world. And also Target is facing a bit of a crisis as people are backlashing against all of their pride stuff that they've had. And so I'm not surprised, but it seems like they're trying to have it both ways. But we'll talk about that story. I actually went to Target today myself because PolitiFact came out with a fact check for Matt Walsh. So no to Target. That's what people saying in the comments. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you for people who watch it back later. Thank you to the guys for commenting. That does help with engagement stuff. So thank you for, you know, reacting to what I'm saying, to having conversations with each other in the chat. If you guys are watching on Facebook, you can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you can send super chats. If you would like to support in that way, you can also go to blacktnews.com/donate and support on the website. It costs a stream, run my website, all that good stuff. So if you would like to support with that overhead, I appreciate it. Bible says you have not because you ask not. So I am asking if you can. So again, very much appreciate if you're able to do that. Make sure you guys are going to the website, check out different articles, videos, etc. Please make sure that you guys go watch that interview I did with Riley Gaines. We talked about some very important things. Riley Gaines raced and actually tied with Will/Leah Thomas in a race. And she went through some of the things that the young ladies had to go through while racing against him. And people need to know how they are making women lower and second-class citizens for this ideology. And that's really what we need to stand up against. And if we don't do it now, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's a shame that we've allowed it to get this far. But a lot of these big corporations are into it, and Target is one of them. So we'll get to those things today. So before we jump into everything, I guess I pretty much told you guys the gist of what I usually say, but I do want to encourage you guys to also check out my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, which is available on Amazon and also on Barnes and Noble, so you guys can pick it up. My youngest sister did the beautiful artwork for that. She did such an amazing job, but it covers theology, of course, but also covers science and philosophy and other things as well. So it's a very real well-rounded book for people who are like, why put theology in it at all? Because I was sick of people getting things wrong. I was sick of people, if I wouldn't bring up my faith, other people would bring it up, and then they would say the most absurd things. I'm like, that's not even real. That's not even true. That's not even in there. That's taken out of context. So I just, it started evolving into a lot of rebuttals, and then it became articles, and then eventually just became a book. And there's a lot of progressive Christians and other folks who are torn on this issue. And if you're pro-life and you're not a Christian, I'm telling you, you lose the evangelicals on this issue, you're gonna lose a huge chunk of your movement. So somebody's got to set them straight. So I guess I opted in for that responsibility. So please go check that book out on Amazon. You can just search my name, Christina Elbar, for that and all my books. I have 17 that are published now. Can you believe it? Most of them are fiction though, but you can just search my name on Amazon, follow me on Amazon. But if you go to Black Teen News and hit the merchandise banner, merchandise page, there's a banner that's taking my book website. But for the abortion book, it's, if you go to blackteennews.com, it's like the landing page basically. It's hard to miss. At least it is a landing page for now, so please go check that out if you haven't. So you guys know that I like to start with something funny, and the funny thing is just the headline from the New York Post regarding the story. The nutty professor. I think that is appropriate for what happened. So this professor here got into an altercation with some pro-life advocates. So I'm going to go ahead and I guess play the reaction first. I don't think maybe in this the swear words are bleeped out. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I apologize if you hear some bad words.
This is fucking propaganda. What are you gonna do? Like anti-trans next? Is that what you're gonna do next?
I mean, no, we're talking about abortion.
This is bullshit. This is violent. You're triggering my students.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not. Because you can't even have a fucking baby. So you don't even know what that is. You don't even know what this is. Get this shit the fuck out of here, yo. This shit.
So yeah, Students for Life are pretty. I went to the after I went to the March for Life in January, I went to the Students for Life Summit, and they're pretty educated in their responses and how they handle things, and they keep it pretty science-based. When I talk to different attendees there, if you go to the March for Life and I talk to people there, a lot of people say I'm against abortion because I'm Catholic or something like that, or so they keep it faith-based, which I would like to say, and I do say that I think that should be reason enough. I think it's reason enough, just in general, I guess. But people don't understand your morals and your values and everything that stands for. They just hear that you're a Bible thumper, and they don't understand you think that you're saying a lot, and all they conflate it to is like bigotry and control, and you're trying to say that everyone deserves dignity and respect, and everyone's life should be valued, and everyone deserves equal rights and all this. Like that's what you're probably thinking about, how that's instilled within your foundation, and people aren't hearing that. So I think you got to go deeper, and that's one thing I still kind of relate in my book about. So please go get, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion on Amazon. But Students for Life, even though many of them are religious and a lot of them aren't, but a huge chunk of them I bet are, a lot of the attendees would say, life starts at conception. Therefore, that's when, we should protect people's rights to life because everyone deserves equal rights. And so it's very simple, very foundational, and they go that route. So her getting all angry and being like it's propaganda and throwing their stuff, obviously not appropriate, and she could have tried to engage. She is a professor. She's like an art teacher, but she's there as an adult on that college. That was not an appropriate way to interact with just people in general, but particularly students or young people, whatever. And unfortunately, that's a way that a lot of people engage. Side note, side story, really quickly, on Twitter. Someone had said that pregnancy, that abortion is 14 times safer than pregnancy, which is a stat that people repeatedly say. So I shared a link from Equal Rights Institute that said, hey, that's not true. That debunked that stat. It's from a study that can't be replicated and it's flawed, etc. So I linked the article to them, and I said, and then safe for who? Because the point of the abortion is that it's not safe for the baby, obviously. And I said, they're either killed by suffocation / starvation. That's what the pill does. Dismemberment. So that's the suction and when you rip them apart with the forceps, or lethal injection. So they replied like, oh, this is all propaganda, or it's all lies. Like all you pro-birthers are liars or whatever. And I just said, can you be specific? Because I'm not going to just blanket go through everything. I want to know like particularly what thing he meant by what I'm saying is propaganda. And he's just like, all of it. And then instead of like continuing to gauge down the path of like abortion related content, he starts going like attacking me for being a black conservative, and it's like, you're siding with people who would have enslaved you 100 and something years ago, etc. And I'm like, sir. Black babies are disproportionately killed in abortions. The biggest abortion chain in the country, Planned Parenthood, was founded by eugenicists, and it was taken over by another eugenicist. Their better world has less black people in it. That's their better world, and that's what we're seeing. And in Michigan, in my state, we're about 14% of the population. We're 56% of the abortions. Okay. So don't pull that racial crap on me, especially not with this issue. I'm like, you dehumanize the babies, and people dehumanize my ancestors. I don't think if we were in the 1800s, if we were in the 1800s, I think I know what side that you would be on. So people have very strong reactions and just attack, and so I like, don't go there with racial places unless you're like ready, I guess. And so I was ready for him, and he will not reply to me. There's other people in my thread that he was replying to, but he won't reply to me. Maybe he muted me after that comment. I don't know, but he won't. He'll reply to other people, but he's not replying to me in the things that I say. So I don't know. I'll just, I guess, take that as a win. But anyway, back to this lady. Reporters came to her and she met them with a machete. So that's where this picture from the New York Post comes from. But there's also a video. So I can pull that up really quick. So she met them with the machete. And not only did she meet them with the machete like at her apartment, she also like chased them outside as well. So
let's get out of here. You can't do that.
Away from my door. Get the away from my door.
Let's get out of here.
So that was short interaction there with the machete coming out of the house, but different dash cams and stuff there, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Held it up to his neck and they left, but she did go outside and go after them with the machete. So she's been let go. So there's that. But think about what kind of deranged people you have teaching your kids, at schools. That's disturbing, and I guess everyone can have a bad day, but it seems like she's having a couple. Just learn to, and nobody really wants to get harassed or followed by reporters and whatnot, which, that's gotta be annoying, but to come up with somebody and then chase them out meet them on the street with the machete and threaten them still, Yeah, you went too far, but even the beginning interaction that we played with the students, that was too far and not appropriate and definitely not how you engage in productive conversation. So, um, anyway, let's move on. Uh, let's talk about Target. Target's got issues. So I went to Target today because PolitiFact, they wrote an article, and the person who wrote the article shared it on Twitter, and she did not have a replies on. So that's hilarious. And so they said that it was false claims that Matt Walsh made about, and other people made about Target having tuck friendly clothing for adults. I mean, for kids. I'm sorry, for kids. And so Matt, they wrote in the article that Matt said either of these are for very, very, very small adults or they're for kids or something. So I decided to go in there myself today, this morning. So I went to Target, and the Target where I used to work at, actually. And so actually I posted a video online and I said, this is a place where dreams go to die. But I got out, so so your dreams can come true. You just have to leave. So when you walk right into the store, you see the Pride stuff. You don't even have to be inside the building. Like, walking into it, you can see it from the doors. It's right in the front. And they do put like new collections or whatever in the front, I guess. But Black History stuff they put up front, the Pride stuff they put up front. I don't think they had like celebrated Asian Heritage Month or whatever, or other stuff like that. They do Black History, and I don't know how much they do for Black History versus like Pride is like the big thing that corporations really care about. Pride, I feel like nowadays they care more about Pride Month than they care about Black History Month. Which, by the way, that conversation I had with that angry pro-lifer who came at me, pro-choice man who came at me, was upset because I wrote under Matt Walsh's, one of his tweets about how June's going to be Life Month for me. And so people didn't take kindly to it. It's funny how they'll say mind your business, but they're mad when you won't celebrate with them in the things that they want. So, Roe v. Wade did fall last June on the 24th. And that's actually my sister's birthday, which is 2 weeks after mine. So we have a lot of life to celebrate in June anyway, in my family. So when you walk in, you see the display, and there's stuff for kids and adults and babies. Now, babies don't know what any of that means. So when it has a bib, saying affirming things, that's for the parents, and it is what it is. But they have shirts on there that have women saying dreaming about girls all the time, and they have shirts with, I didn't see the shirts with the like naked women and stuff on them. I don't know if that was maybe in that store before, but the art was like really ugly. Really, really ugly. I didn't see any of the demonic art there. And if you're like, demonic art, what do you mean? Well, there was a person who they hired, Target, to do some of the art for their Pride stuff, who's a Satanist. So this is the guy. He's got that shirt that says, Satan respects your pronouns, which I think that's true. There's people who've done TikToks and stuff saying, he's the author of confusion. So yeah, Satan respects your pronouns. Absolutely. Now Satanists say that, that they don't believe in God, that they don't believe in Satan. Satan is just kind of like a stand-in, like a symbol, and they really worship themselves. And it's about, a lot of them are like anti like religion and, or anti public displays of religion, and uplifting rationality and other things like that. But I think they kind of fall short in this area. So anyway, Target had him be one of the designers for some of their stuff. So they removed some of the apparel, and so I didn't see his stuff. And from what I can see online, they're taking his stuff off of their website. And when I walked into the Target, I did hear different employees talking about how Targets were removing the stuff from the Pride sections, and there have been reports that that they want to move them into not the front but other smaller sections. I don't know if they're going to take everything out of the stores, but as far as having those big displays, I think, I don't know if I went there like 2 days from now, I don't know if it's still going to be in the same spot at that store, because they are getting heavy backlash and they don't want another Budweiser situation. So, so I had wrote a post about this on YouTube, and someone said, well, no, I shared my video of when I went into Target, and someone said, just mind your business or whatever. And I'm like, mind your business. First of all, you can say that to people. Feel free to say that to people, but people like have the freedom to not mind their business either way. You can fully 100% say that when you're like, what I do in my bedroom is my business. You can totally say that. People are still going to have an opinion, but you can totally say that. But that is different than you walking into a store and it's the first thing you see is gay onesies. Like, that's not the same. The things that they have on display are bathing suits, like women styled bathing suits, except they have the tuck, for the men's, for a penis. So you can't just be like, mind your business, when this is literally business. We're literally walking into a place of business that would like your business, that expects your business, and you're using your purchasing power, and you can like it, you can ignore it, you go in there and buy what you want, not buy the things that you don't want, or you can be like, you know what, I don't want to support this place at all. People can have those conversations, people can make up their own minds and decide whatever the heck they want to do. But just to say, like, just mind your business, like, this is a public thing that's happening. So I just feel like it's so insincere when people say that repeatedly about different stuff. Like, they'll say that with abortion, but I feel like this is different than like the abortion thing, because at least that's more like, the baby, there's a body inside your body and we care about the human rights violation, but at least that's like, it's in your body, like that is like a private thing. Like, if you don't talk about it and it happens and I never catch you in a clinic, how would I ever know? But we're talking about something that you walk in the store and it's there. So it's not a private thing at all. It isn't meant to be a private thing. Their issue is that people aren't happy about it, aren't celebrating, aren't going along with it. That's the issue. They're mad that you're not also like gung ho and happy about it. Or if you're unhappy, they're upset that you just won't be silent, but they'd rather you be celebrating and stuff. But, you can't always get what you want, and if you do things publicly, you got to be open to people coming and criticizing and having discussions, especially when there's so many people who make a living off of being social commentators. So it's really tickles me when people are like, mind your own business. I'm like, me not minding my business is my business. So we're going to discuss these things, and apparently, a decent amount of people, want to hear that commentary. So, we're not going to live in a world where people just don't talk about these things, especially when it's up front in front of everybody. But anyway, back to the bathing suits. So there is a bathing suit that has like the tuck stuff built in, and then it is an adult bathing suit. Now they did have like smaller sizes, it's like a normal kind of a sizing up for adults or whatever. So, that's actually for adults, though. If you were a large child like I was, you could probably a large child plus if you were like actually a boy trying to be a girl, maybe you're fitting it to a small or something like that, or extra small or whatever. But there are bathing suits for kids that are for all gender expressions. It just isn't and it says it on the tag. It doesn't say that anything about tucking or being tuck friendly on the children's one, at least that I saw in the store. But it did say that it's for all gender expressions. So with that in mind, which they didn't mention that piece in the PolitiFact article, I think it's not really appropriate for them to give him like a hard false on it. It could have at least maybe been like partly false or half true, you know, if they wanted to go that route. But he did leave a caveat like either this is for small children or if it's for small people, adults, or it's for children. But they definitely do have swimsuits for, you know, boys who want to be girls, boys who identify as girls. And that is known. That is part of their strategy. So, why omit that? But it is funny in these stories because I didn't read the AP story about the fact check, but people are retweeting it. It's like, it's funny that they're not mentioning anything about the Satanists because you can't really deny that that's a thing that happened. It's a thing that happened. So they're pulling their stuff. Target has been in hot water before, which we've talked about. It's been like 7 years ago that they, you know, said their bathroom policy where if you're a boy, a man, or whatever, you could go inside the girls' bathroom. So people were very upset about that. And people started boycotting Target. And at least from the time, it seemed like that did hit a mark with Target, and they did things to try to woo people back. And I think there's plenty of people who never went back to Target, and there's people who just kind of eased back into it. After working there, I never like went back to Target very often anyway. And I haven't really been there shopping or anything like that myself. But Allie Stuckley was like, I haven't shopped at Target since they started selling chest binders. And they do sell chest binders at Target. And let me share this account from someone who used to wear chest binders, talked about how awful it is and how it leads people to ultimately transition. I went ahead and I shared this. I'm pretty sure I retweeted on Twitter, but I shared this on Facebook. Binders have known health risk. Even trans identifying people will tell you this. I have permanent damage in my rib cage from binding. I have back and shoulder pain, and the connective tissue in the area I compressed for years is damaged. The worst part about binding might not even be the physical damage. However, it's a pipeline for double mastectomy. On top of damage to the back and ribs, binding deforms the breast. Compressing and binding them for hours a day leads to their deterioration. They'll become painful, saggy, discolored, and damaged, making the trans-identifying female more likely to remove her breast. This is why social transition and things like binding, which seem harmless, are actually insidious and dangerous. So, once Target started doing that was pretty bad. And in Michigan, our Department of Education was having some kind of training, and they were showing different kids on TikTok with who were, you know, gender non-conforming or trans or whatever, and they showed someone having chest binders. I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that our woke schools are promoting, our woke governments are promoting, and our woke corporations are supporting. And the funny thing about Target is that, you know, like I said, I worked there. I don't really feel like they care about people, particularly their employees. And I when I saw the thing about the Satanists doing design, I shared it in my family group chat, and I added my sister Sabrina. I'm like, they wouldn't promote you, but they'll hire a Satanist to design clothes. And I didn't like being there so much, especially after, you know, they gave me a teeny tiny like raise. I worked really hard, and everyone's telling me that they'll give you the lowest raise possible because that's just what they do. I'm like, no, but I'm a hard worker, I'm a good worker. And lo and behold, everyone else was right, and it just really killed my spirit. But it was also hard watching how they mistreated my sister, who had worked there longer than I had, but she worked in like the shoe department and managed the shoe department and stuff. And so she wanted to go higher up in management and stuff, but they just would not do it. They wouldn't elevate her because she didn't have a college degree. Like they would just like chop block you if you didn't have a degree. But the crazy thing is that they would hire in people with a degree who had no work experience, 0 work experience. Which just blew my mind, which was crazy. And so there are people who would come up above her that she would have to train them to do their job. But they just didn't want to elevate their own people if they didn't have a degree. It was, I don't know. And I know so many people feel that way, in stores and corporations feel that way, but it's just like, these are things that you can learn on the job, and you're willing to hire someone who has, again, no experience doing any sort of retail work, any sort of work at all, and no work managing people. It's just so pretentious and ignorant at the same time. And man, we had some managers that were just ditzes, man. It was a crazy corporation. And if you were there for a while, they'd really try to force you out because they didn't want to eventually they'd try to cap you at how much you could get for your raises, and they'd find every excuse in the book not to give raises to people who'd been there a long time. And then if you were in management and you were there for a while, they just, really try to force you out because they didn't want to keep paying you. And I know there's probably a lot of corporations that do the same thing, but unfortunately I suffered under Target, and I took it pretty personal because it didn't just happen to me. I watched them, do shady stuff to my family too. So, as a big sister, that really, was hard. It was hard to watch. And they also got accused of other things like, being racist and other stuff like that. But even like our store manager, one time they hired in a store manager that had no retail experience either. Now he came out of the army or something, and they're like, oh, well, he has, training in other sort of ways. I'm like, okay, I get that, but don't you think it's weird to be over our store? He was a nice guy though. But it just had my mind just railing. I'm like, none of this makes sense. But I guess it looked good on paper for them to be like, oh, all our managers are college educated, though have no experience. So, I don't know. I think this is just like a repeated, like, look at our virtue. Look at how virtuous we are, how inclusive we are. We have a good social credit score because we care about the gays. We care about the trans people. That's what it seems like to me. There's probably like corporate people within Target or whatever that are LGBT and this is important to them, etc. That's the way it is in a lot of these companies. But a lot of folks who claim to be inclusive and loving, etc., they don't really extend those feelings toward people who will disagree with them anyway. So I don't think it's a matter of principle. I think it's a matter of their personal feelings and a matter of cash. A matter of cash. So yeah, feel free to not shop at Target. And people are saying if you can't bring yourself to never shop there again, at least don't do it in June. But there's a lot of other places that you go to and that would be alternatives and that will do similar things. But as Matt Walsh says, I guess we got to kind of take one scalp at a time. So, do as you will. I mean, I think it's good to not probably shop there until they, kind of dial it back, especially with the chest binders. That was so like disappointing and such a gross turn of events. But I don't know if they will or they won't, but they're pulling stuff, so we'll see. We'll definitely see. Moving on. Let's talk about Ron DeSantis gearing up for his announcement, which he plans to do on Twitter. So Vanity Fair had this ridiculous headline. Oh my gosh, it's so silly. So we got this here. Report, Ron DeSantis will formally announce his 2024 bid with Elon Musk because apparently David Duke wasn't available. What does this mean? Oh my gosh. That is tell me how you really feel about it, man. Tell me how you really feel about it. If you don't know who David Duke is, because David Duke is someone who just pops up like during, as a boogeyman during presidential seasons or whatever. He's a white supremacist, and you have to come out and denounce him and whatnot. He has no real power, no real pull or whatever. He's just really a boogeyman or whatever. But essentially, they're calling Elon Musk and Twitter David Duke, and they believe that Twitter is just like a cesspool of white supremacy and whatever, because we don't allow the government now to bully everyone off the platform. If you say the wrong pronoun or something like that. So people don't like Elon Musk. But no more waiting, no more speculating. I guess we'll wait a little bit, but he's supposed to announce, I believe it's tonight on Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk. And then he's supposed to go on Fox with Trey Gowdy, which some people were upset about him doing an announcement with Trey Gowdy, but they probably know each other and are cool. So people are having lots of conversations and upset because he's not doing like a legacy media sort of event thing, which you don't really have to. Ron DeSantis has kind of learned to not play a lot of their games and has accepted the fact that these people despise him. So he's just, if they're right in front of him, whatever, he will be blunt and frank and demolish them as he speaks head to head with them. But mostly he just kind of tries to go around and not even deal with unnecessary headaches, which, Trump will do that sometimes, but sometimes Trump will let them in because he enjoys attention, and he sometimes they'll compliment him and he's like, oh, and then they'll stab him in the back, and then it's all, enemy of the people. But I mentioned at the top of the hour that it's really, really evident that Never Trumpers and the media really don't want Ron DeSantis to be the nominee. And here's an example here with Billy Crystal. And he said, I tend, perhaps foolishly, to discount the alpha beta male stuff. But DeSantis was always on Fox when Rupert was for him. Now he announces on Twitter when Elon's for him. Kind of beta, no? Trump does CNN town hall, goes into the pseudo lion's den. Looks kind of alpha, no? So Bill Kristol despises Donald Trump. Despises him. At least, that's the impression you get online, right? That he utterly despises him. He is a never Trumper. Some people call people never Trumpers who just criticize him from time to time. People who don't like him a little bit. People say that if you mostly like him and you say one thing about him, like, oh, you're a never Trumper or whatever. Someone called me that one time. I'm like, are you kidding me? A never Trumper is someone who says never Trump and they mean it. They mean it. They will never support him, blah, 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 etc. And they haven't, they won't. And some of these people like Bill here have totally twisted themselves to support things that they shouldn't support, to bash people that they ought to be supporting or whatever, because they've made such a base. Now maybe they've totally just kind of corroded themselves, or maybe it's something about playing to the new base that they've made off the living that they've made of being the good conservatives or the good Republicans or whatever, that are man enough to criticize and go after Trump because they have the principles and the values of whatever. But they'll come at things with totally unconservative approaches just to kind of be consistent toward that audience and abandoning everything that they should stand for. So Bill is one of these people. So it's very curious now that he's calling DeSantis a beta and Trump an alpha. So I think beta and alpha, you'll kind of see those conversations, and I've mentioned this before. Like I don't like how Trump has focused so much on DeSantis, because it seems like he's obviously letting everyone know that DeSantis is the big person in the race. And in my opinion, I think Trump needs to act like everyone else kind of doesn't exist, and he's already in the general. You know, he just needs to picture the people like, I told you Joe Biden would do this, and it was a mistake. He did these things, and we can rectify the situation. I can make America great again. I've done it once, I'll do it again, etc. But that should be his pitch. He should act like he's a president. He shouldn't waste time with the governor. That's something my sister said to me. I'm like, that's really good. I think that should be his approach. But he's said a lot about DeSantis, has a lot of focus on DeSantis, because one, he's probably TO that he's running and just won't get in line, and he sees it as him being disloyal, and two, I think he's obviously the threat, you know. So I think the focus that he's had has come off as kind of beta, and I don't like that. I think Trump came in so strong in 2016 because he just had alpha energy. But Bill Kristol going this route and taking up Trump's side is wild to me. It's wild to me, but it makes sense because these people, they have a whole brand being anti-Trump, and I guess they could move on to the next thing and just be an anti something else. But Trump is very lucrative for a lot of people, and if Trump just goes away, well, all these people who've on the right and the left, who've built their livelihoods around this one person for the past couple of years, of people loving him and people who have despised him and have made themselves rich from ripping on him, and people who like him. What's going to happen when he's just no longer part of the conversation? Or there probably won't be a day when he's no longer part of the conversation. He's like seared into history and stuff, but it could definitely be not to the degree that it was or is even right now. It can definitely get less. And if he's not running the president and not running to be president, and someone else is a president or fast tracking to be that, then that loses momentum. Unless he's just like, I'm going to run no matter what, which is a way bigger problem for our country if that happens. But a lot of people really, really, really want him to be the nominee. They don't want him to win. I don't think Bill wants him to win, you know, or maybe some of these people do, better for ratings, you know. But I do think they want him to run, and they want him to be the nominee. But I think that's mostly because they expect him to lose, and they don't think he can win. And Trump really does need to make the case to people that he can win, because I think that's the main contention and main issue with a lot of people, is they do not see how he can win. They're just not able to connect the dots, because the country's pretty half and half. The road to the White House, the Electoral College, is looking kind of bleak, and independents really aren't fond of him. He needs to gain back suburban white women, etc. He needs to make that case that he is actually electable, not just that everything was stolen. So he needs to make that case, and if he can make that case, there's a lot of policy that Trump implemented that people liked, that people appreciated, and we see a lot of weakness on the world stage with Joe Biden and everyone else who is running against him. We can speculate how they might be on foreign policy, but foreign policy is very important when you're sitting the president, and we know what Trump will do foreign policy wise. So I think that's a really big notch on his belt that he could focus on, that really does set him above everyone else. The culture war stuff, you know, they can go head to head with stuff, and DeSantis will come out on top with a lot of stuff, and people will like that and see it as a big, you know, as a fighter and etc. But DeSantis, people are trying to say, oh, he won't have an energy plan, oh, he doesn't have this or whatever. He's there's a lot of people in Florida who maybe aren't into the culture war stuff, but they still think that he governs pretty well. So I wouldn't expect people just pretending like he won't have other kind of policies beyond, hey, let's get woke stuff out of schools. I think that's silly. I think he'll come with some pretty solid stuff. But it's going to be hard for him to be able to pry hardcore Trump people away from Trump. So I think the more people in the race, the harder it will obviously be for Ron. And maybe some other people are running to kind of build momentum or whatever to be like VP. It's very possible to have like a DeSantis Scott ticket. I don't think that's, out of the realm of possibility or something like that. But it's definitely not going to be Trump DeSantis. I know so many people held out for that, but that's just not going to happen. And I also don't think it's a good idea. I think that it totally doesn't serve them at all, especially DeSantis, to wait. Sometimes you can wait and sometimes you'll lose that momentum. You got to shoot your shot when it's yours, especially in politics. And even if he served as the vice president, there's no guarantee that DeSantis won't do something in the end that makes Trump really upset, and severs the relationship like Trump had with Mike Pence. So we'll see how that goes. But it's getting exciting. I'm not surprised that he's going to announce again. It's you got to shoot your shot when it's available to you. People are in the comments saying who they're supporting. We'll see. It's a long road. DeSantis is preparing an army to hit the early states. There's people already out there. I know being a Michigan person that Perry Johnson has one, he has a lot of money, but people out in Iowa and other places to get ready for the presidential election. Another thing that they mentioned on The View that we didn't talk about, they mentioned that that there was some diversity on the ticket for Republicans and noted that Republicans don't, as if that's so strange. But in 2016, they had diversity as well. You had Ben Carson, who was running. You had Carly Fiorina, who was running. You had, we had some other people who were, I'm trying to think of his name. There was another minority in the race as well. But the Democrats were the ones who had, like, with the exception of Hillary, I'm thinking of 2016 wasn't very diverse. I think everybody was pretty much white, and Hillary was a woman, but everybody I think was white who's running. And man, if you were moderate, they got rid of you real fast. There was Jim Webb, poor Jim Webb, went down in flames pretty fast. But Jim Webb said something on the debate stage. I was watching with my colleagues at the Michigan Republican Party. We're like, "That's a good answer," and it just. Well, I'll just explain the story. So, the 2016 primary debate for Democrats. I think this was still in 2016. I don't think it was 2015 yet, but it was their presidential primary or whatever. And they were asking, like, who's your, number one enemy or something. And so someone said the NRA, Hillary Clinton named a couple people, ending it with the Republicans or whatever. And Bernie said a couple people, but Jim Webb was like, well, I would say the guy who threw a grenade at me, but he didn't live to tell the tale or something. And he's just kind of like paused or like looking around like, I'm about to get like a roar of applause. And it just fell flat. But I just want Jim Webb to know that the Republicans really liked your answer. The Republicans really liked your answer. Like our room was like, yeah, like kill that guy who threw a grenade at you. But they just weren't into it. And like, immediately after that debate, Jim Webb jumped out. He's just like, it's not the same. Like the party is just not the same. It's moved too much. And it had, they had a ton of people run in 2020, and it was of course more diverse, in 2020 for them, but 2016 it wasn't diverse for them, and we didn't have a primary in 2016. But the last, you're seeing minorities line up this time. It's a diverse field, and it was a diverse field in 2016. So people being surprised that there are Republicans out there who are not white old men. they, we exist. People out there who are interested and, and want to do the work and you lead and run. But if we do, and when we do, we are highly criticized and berated by the people who complain that it's not diverse enough. And when they do see diversity, then they'll attack the people who are diverse, and then they'll call them sellouts, and they'll say you're betraying yourself, and it's an oxymoron according to Sonny Houston. They'll try to get racial, like the guy who came at me on Twitter the other day. That's what they do. That's what they do. So I don't think people talk a lot about diversity and inclusion. But it's just a line. People don't really care. They don't really think there's any virtue in it. They virtue signals, sure, but they don't really think there's any virtue in it, because as soon as you are not the right kind of black, then you're just an enemy. So there's nothing virtuous about me and my brown skin. Nothing at all. And the left doesn't think so either. The left doesn't think so either, because as soon as I say something like, hey, Ariel should have darker red hair, they'll be like, why are you anti-black? And I'm not kidding. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. Please check out my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. It's available on Barnes & Noble and also on Amazon. It covers science, covers philosophy, but of course it also covers theology. It was a really important book for me to write. It's a really huge labor of love. I believe in for women not having, I believe in redemption over condemnation. Abortion causes great societal harm. When people say it's none of your business and stuff, I totally disagree. I think it does great harm to our society. Plus, that's just not true anyway, because people want you to pay for the abortions. They want your employers to pay for it, businesses to pay for it, people to be subsidized and stuff. They're going to want it part of free healthcare and all kinds of stuff. So spare me that. But it covers a huge variety of things, and including the exceptions for like life of the mother and sexual assault and stuff, because those are difficult topics for people to talk about. So it is available. Go ahead and check out the book, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I also have other books that I have. Thank you very much. Someone said they just found me today on the shorts and they subscribed. So thank you very much. And thank you to guys. I noticed my subscribers were picking up some steam again. And I know that I'm pretty close to 70K. Let me go check it out. Maybe I'm at 70 right now on YouTube. Let's see. Maybe I am at this very moment and I'm just unaware. No, not quite. maybe by tomorrow. But yeah, we're pretty close. So thank you guys for watching and for subscribing and for telling other people to subscribe as well. It's very much appreciated. Check out different merch that we have. Like there's some pro-Trump stuff. There's some anti-Biden stuff, like denounce white supremacy, defeat Joe Biden. But be better, not bitter. I'm not the victim you're looking for. I don't have it loaded up, but I do have like a pride shirt. This like has American flag and it says, "This is my pride flag," but I don't have a picture of it up here right now. So I'll maybe have it loaded up for tomorrow, but you can go to the website and check out the different kind of merch that we have. Please go watch that interview with Riley Gaines that I did. We talk about some really important stuff, and I don't think that parents are aware of how bad it is, because they're really unnecessarily treating your daughters like second-class citizens, and that should send up all kinds of alarm bells. People talk about equality, but it's evident that we're not getting it. It's evident that we're not getting it, and people are willing to take their privileges at the expense of other people's rights. So please go watch that interview. Make sure that you share it. And if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Cost of stream one, run my website, all the good stuff. So if you can, I appreciate it. God bless you. And I will see you guys tomorrow.